Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
What's going on, fight fans? Rob Smith back again for Combat Sports UK. I'm joined with Toby Aneni for the Cage Steel card on September 7th. Toby, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, Rob. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I can't complain. I'm doing pretty good. I think it's going to be good to do all these interviews. I've got a few fighters who have messaged on the Cage Steel card, just waiting for a few responses. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great night of fights. First of all, I want to touch on your last fight because for those who don't know, me and Toby, we've already met before. We met at Unity FC. I can't remember the exact date. I'm not sure if you can. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. But we already met before. I did Toby's post-fight interview after he won by a very quick first round finish.
Yeah.
And it was. I don't want to say it was an easy finish. I want to be respectful of your opponent, but it was over in about, was it 30 seconds, something like that? 30,
Yeah, it was
seconds?
like 30, 40 seconds. It was quite quick. I wasn't really expecting it either myself, to be honest.
I know. The one thing I remember from that interview that surprised me was when we spoke, and I was convinced you were a striker, and then when you told me that you came from a jiu-jitsu background, I was a bit like,
Yeah.
bloody hell, okay, this guy's quite good, because you look so calm on your feet, and so is jiu-jitsu always been your main practice? How recently have you got into striking, or has it always mainly been jiu-jitsu?
It's what I started off when I first started training MMA. Jiu-jitsu was what I went into, because obviously I'm at uni currently, so then I just joined the MMA society and I just started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just loved it since. But then after I started getting into MMA, like late September, start of 2023 last year, so I started training my striking a bit more. So, I've got a good balance of striking, I've got a good balance of jiu-jitsu, I've not got one overweighing the other. That's what I like to tell myself, at least.
Well, I think I can tell you as an outsider, you definitely got that balance. I was convinced you were a striker. You look very calm on the feet. And so you kind of said that I didn't realize you were at uni. So what made you want to get into MMA? What kind of influenced you to start?
I get asked this quite a lot. I don't know. Because obviously going to uni is quite daunting, because you're going on your own and you're meeting, and there's so many new people, you don't know where to start. And I just saw like an MMA leaflet in one of the fresher fairs, and there was a stall there as well. So I took the leaflet, went to the stall. It looked quite interesting because I'm quite a sporty guy. I come from a sporty background. I played football when I was younger, and I played a bit of rugby before I joined uni, which I still do play rugby. But then when I saw MMA, I was like, this is a bit of me. So I started it, and it's just been like addictive ever since. I've not stopped. I'm training every day.
First of all, can I ask what position did you play in rugby? Because I played rugby myself. I'm quite curious.
I'm a flanker, and I play in the wing as well sometimes.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, as you can tell, a bit of a big lad. I played in the front row. I was always prof, maybe. I was always prof. But yeah, to fair, that sounds like, so with uni, obviously, I think obviously with pro fighters, that's all they do. I didn't realize you were at uni. So how do you kind of balance that with uni life and also training? Do you kind of put all your focus into training? Do you also have a job as well, or is it just literally just uni in MMA?
It's literally uni MMA. So like, mornings and afternoons, I'm a student. Evening times, I'm a MMA addict. Just in the gym training as much as I can. Whenever I have spare time, if I'm not doing uni work, I'm in the gym training. Yeah.
I think to be successful, you've got to have that sort of like, you've got to be addicted to it. I think you can't. Sure. This isn't a sport you can kind of half-ass. You have to kind of give it everything, because you see some fighters, and I'll be honest, there was some fighters in that Unity card that kind of they showed up and just, you could tell they hadn't gave it everything, and it kind of showed in the performances. Whereas I think if you give everything like yourself, and there's a few other fighters, there's a fighter who I've spoken to quite recently. I've done a few interviews with him called Dacre Bradley. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dacre, but we've done a few interviews out together. And even though he lost on the Unity card, he's gone on to win. He won in the Cage Warriors Academy. He's now going to be fighting for the Cage Warriors Academy title. And he lives a lifestyle of a fighter. He's quite fortunate in a position where he trains full time, even amateur. But you can tell he's got that addiction like yourself. And I think to really give it everything, it's impressive. Especially balancing uni. I've been at uni myself. I know how it can be daunting. But what course are you doing at uni?
Business management.
That's the exact same
So
course
it's
I did. It's the
so
exact same course
it's
I did.
not too tough. It's not straining. So
No,
I've got a bit of
it's
spare
not.
time.
It's a lot of typing, a lot of writing nonsense. I think
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of typing.
I agree.
I did the exact same course. I'm going back to uni in September to do a master's in sports journalism. So I'm going back to do the uni
Okay.
grind. But I think it's similar to how I kind of doing things now. I'm doing work, but in my free time, I'm always doing this. I'm speaking to fighters. I'm reaching out to fighters. I'm interviewing fighters. I'm researching and writing. And it's a sport we love at the end of the day. That's why I love doing these interviews. I like speaking to young fighters like yourself because you share a passion for the sport. We love the sport. And so let's say you go to uni. Let's talk me through your normal day. So you go to uni. And then how long do you train for on the average session?
So it depends. So when I had my normally when I'm not training for a fight or anything, I'm probably in the gym for like 2 hours in the evening. But when I had my last two fights, I was in the gym from like 9 to 5 every day, Sunday rest, like every week, no break. Honest to God, I kid you not. I wake up 9 to 10. I'd have an MMA session with one of my mates and my coach. I go home for like 2 hours. I had a BJJ session 1 to 2. Go home for like another 2 hours break, and then I had another MMA session like five to seven, and then go home, eat food, go to sleep, wake up next day, do the same thing. So
And
when I'm training for camp,
that sort of format, did you enjoy that sort of format, or did you find it kind of burnt you out a little bit doing it like so routine, like a job, or do you actually like thrive in that
I
sort
love
of
it.
format?
I love it. I love it. So like, cause in the moment, I'm thinking, oh, I'm tired. I'm not good. I want to go home. Why am I doing this? But then when I go home and I'm resting, I'm chilling. I'm like, I could be training right now. Why am I not training? And then that's how I know of myself and I love what I'm doing. So I don't find it as a like I'm overworking myself.
And what like aspect of trade do you find most challenging?
It I don't find anything challenging. I mean, drilling techniques I don't know, or sparring people that are better than me. It's part of the game. Like I don't really find anything challenging. I just find it as an obstacle to get better as a fighter, if anything.
And also, what aspect of training do you enjoy the most? Is it just learning the sport and growing as a fighter, or is there one specific thing you always enjoy the most?
Everything. I don't have something specific that I love them. I just want to learn
Mhm.
everything as much as I can. And I know I got awarded my blue belt like last month, and I still have that mentality that I tell myself when I'm at training, I'm still a white belt. Like I don't
Mhm.
feel like I'm a blue belt. I don't feel like I deserve it. But even though my coach gave it to me, I'm still trying to learn everything and learn as much as I can.
And obviously, when you first started, obviously you said you went to a uni freshers fair, and did you go into the aspect of kind of just doing MMA for like more like the fitness side? Because like I've trained in the past, I've done like kickboxing, I've done a little bit of MMA, but to me there was no when I did it myself, and this is why this is why I just do it as a fan. There was no part of me that wanted to fight. I enjoyed sparring and things, but there was no part of me that ever wanted to fight. So did you kind of start just want to do it as like a fitness side for fun, or was it always like I want to actually give this fighting thing a go?
I was like that. I was like you at the start. At the start, I was like, I'm enjoying this as a hobbyist. But then when I started training consistently, I was like, you know what? I've got a knack for this. I'm shit, but I've got a knack for it. I know that if I keep doing this, I'm gonna get better, and I'm loving it. Cause I was watching loads of YouTube videos online. Like I remember when I first started, I would just be watching loads of like Gordon Ryan videos on how to leg lock people and stuff. Like that's what made me so addicted to it. So then I just was like, you know what? Let me just give MMA a try, and then I'm here now, and I'm still going.
And so I kind of want to talk about your grappling side and also MMA side, kind of like the how you prepare for like a fight or a grappling match. Did you have to kind of mentally prepare, or do you kind of because like you see every fight is different. You see some fighters that kind of come in properly amped up and aggressive, but they have to get in that mindset. And then you see some others who kind of come in but more calm and collected. How do you kind of mentally prepare? Do you kind of come in more calm when you fight, or do you kind of just go all guns blazing, like here we go, rock music on, I'm ready to go?
I come in calm. I just get my AirPods in, get my music in. I calm myself. But there are moments in time where you're gonna have to, amp yourself up and get ready for war in the cage because like it has happened to me at times when I'm in a jiu-jitsu match and I'm too calm, then that's when, it can lead to you making mistakes. So you have to find that balance of, being calm and being ready to fight.
And with the grappling matches, I'm not too familiar with the grappling matches. Can you do those? Can you do those quite often, or is it like a bit more like MMA? Like, 'cause I know MMA, like, I'm sure you'd love to fight every other week, but it's not always the case. I know sometimes you get people
Yeah.
who pull out fights, things. Can you do those grappling matches a bit more regularly?
Yeah, 100%. I try to get as many matches as possible as I can. Like I've got a invitational grappling match at the end of this month before as like preparation before my fight. So I just see those grappling matches as warm-ups for my fight. I don't take those too serious.
Hmm. And kind of obviously, and you're very new to the game, so you've got a long career ahead of you. But what is like your goals and aspirations in MMA? Because I think nowadays the sport's kind of changed, and I think some people might give a different answers. Like I know a lot of people always say, and I think it's this most likely be your answer. But the main goal is the UFC. But you see nowadays a lot of like these big names. For example, Paul Hughes recently signed with Bellator, like the PFL, over the UFC. And I think as the sport's continuing to grow, and these other organisations like PFL, Bellator, ONE FC, they're starting to gain a lot more notoriety. And I think some people are starting to realise that maybe their career trajectory isn't just have to be UFC. It's not all just about the UFC. Because in the day, like you've got PFL, if you win like one of their tournaments, that's $1 million. That's life changing money, and like you could fight. Yeah, you could have 12 UFC fights and not even make anything close to it. So what is your goals and aspirations?
Um, to be honest with you, right, I'm just enjoying it as it is. Like I don't want to put too much pressure on myself saying, oh, I have to make it to the UFC in so and so years, or I have to make it in Cage Wars in so and so years. Like I'm just taking as many fights as I can, competing as much as I can. I'm trying to put myself out there, give myself as much exposure, and I'll just see where the journey takes me.
I think that's a good attitude to have, especially with a young fighter. You see a lot of these young fighters who they rush through things like they'll have 5 amateur fights and they're wanting to go pro. And I think I listened to a Harry Hardwick interview very recently, and he was saying that stay as amateur as long as you can, just get the experience. Like there's a really good fighter who's just turned pro who I interviewed at Cage Warriors in my first ever event interviewing called Jack Humphreys, and he's one of the most decorated amateurs you'll see. He's won so many titles at amateur level, and he accredits his success because he came into the pros and he looked like a seasoned veteran straight away, and he accredits that to taking his time. He didn't want to rush it, and I think it's always best for fighters just take your time, don't rush it. I know the idea of going pro and fighting in Cage Warriors, it's exciting. I understand that, and I think, well, actually, if you're in this position, just take your time, don't rush it, and just gain experience, get the rounds in, get the fights in. Obviously, in your case, fights are getting done pretty quick, but just just kind of just keep progressing and just don't rush it. I think like how old are you?
Yeah, I agree. 20.
Just see you're 20, like, you've got so much time ahead of you. Like I think John Jones won the title at 22 or 23, but I'll be honest, that the way the sport was back then, that record's not going to get beat anytime soon. I think
Yeah,
the sport's so evolved nowadays. I think you see back in the day, everyone was kind of a practitioner in one thing, and now you've got these up and coming fighters. Like I know I always accredit there's one fighter who I think was like one of the first who I saw was Aaron Pico, who fights in Bellator. He was like the first who I saw who was a mixed martial artist. He was a Gold Eagles boxing champion. He was a D1 wrestler. He had jiu-jitsu with everything. I think the sport's grown so much and it's so much more competitive now. I think the level of sports increased so much compared to how it was 5 years ago, let alone 15, 20 years ago. It looks like you're watching a completely different sport.
yeah.
The technical level is so much better now. I think for yourself, you've got the right mindset of taking it slow. Just enjoy it. Like you can enjoy this. It's not a job. It's a hobby, but you're having fun doing it. It's an obsession. I think you've got the right mindset. And I think that you take that mindset into Cage Steel. I'm sure you have a great time. It looks like a great show. And one final question I want to ask is, what fighter do you try and like? Do you try and emulate a style of a fighter, or do you have a particular favorite fighter that when you train, you think, I want to train like this guy, I want to be like this guy?
If if anything, I'll probably say Charles Oliveira, just because
Okay.
he's so comfortable fighting off his back. But when I transitioned to MMA, my coach was always telling me, you know, you don't want to be comfortable in the back, and this is not jiu-jitsu. But you know, obviously in jiu-jitsu, you're meant to be good off your back. You're meant to be good on top. You're meant to be good with sweeps. You're meant to be good with, you know, so many aspects of things. So I try my best to bring that into MMA, which I know has been done in the past by, you know, loads of pro fighters. But I'm still trying to continue that. But you know, it's something I'm still working on. So yeah.
I like that Charles Oliveira comparison. I think even in your stance. Like I'm thinking back to the unit you fight. The stance is quite similar. Very like you know that it's like quite shooter box style. Lead leg kick was brilliant. I think I like that comparison. I think I don't see why you can't like, if you keep training the way you're doing. You've got that jiu-jitsu style. And I also actually one last thing. Do you have a prediction for your fight at Cage Steel?
It's gonna end in a finish. I have to end in a finish. He was talking shit about my wrestling on Instagram, and so I have to end in the finish. I can't be letting him be saying that kind of stuff like me. So we'll see.
Okay, so I've got to ask. I've not seen this. What did he say about your wrestling?
He said he saw my first fight, and then he said he likes to see if I can actually wrestle, and if that's how I wrestle, he looks forward to wrestling me. So
I
you
mean, fair,
know, whatever.
I like the fighting talk. I think it's gonna be a good scrap. I think it's gonna be a very good fight, and I look forward to watching it. And I think before we finish off, I'm gonna shout out your socials because I think if anyone's looking to get tickets to Cage Deal, go use the fighters' links in the socials. I'm sure you get a little bit of kickback from it. You support the fighters. So Toby, can you give us a shout out to your Instagram and your social pages?
BJJ Tobes, that's TOBJJTOBS on my Instagram. And yeah, thanks, Rob. I appreciate
Appreciate
it.
having me. September 7th, Cage Steel. Watch out for this man. He's gonna be a great fighter for the future. Just watch out. I'm promising you. Cheers, Tommy. Appreciate it, mate.
Yes, man. Thank you.